Hello everyone, welcome to Analog IAS Current Affair Analysis for 18th June 2020, and these are the articles that we'll be dealing today. The first article for the day is written by Suhasini Haidar from The Hindu and it is titled History, the Standoff and Policy Worth Rereading. So this is in the context of the transgressions by Chinese in the region of LAC. So this article is about why the Chinese always exhibits aggression with respect to this region and what is the grand idea of China with respect to this entire region and what are the actions taken by India and what is the way forward. That is the structure of this article. So in this context we will be beginning with the five finger and palm policy of China. According to various sources attributed to Mao, the ex-supremo of the Communist Party of China and also the former president. So, in this context, he always believed that Tibet was the right palm of China and there are five fingers over which China should always exhibit their control and liberate it from other foreign rule. So, what is the five fingers that we're talking about? Basically, they wanted to include Tibet as a part of their grand One China policy, which is now extended to even Hong Kong and Taiwan as well. So, the five fingers of the right palm of China's vision include Ladakh, Nepal, Bhutan, Sikkim, and Arunachal Pradesh. So, in this context, they wanted to occupy all these regions and bring them under the fold of China. However, historically, that was proven to be a futile attempt. Let us examine the actions taken by India with respect to each of these territories. If you talk about Ladakh, it was formally announced as a part of India after its annexation in 1947. It joined India in 1947 itself at the time of independence. Similarly, we have had NEFA, which was the previous name of Arunachal Pradesh, Northeast Frontier Agency. It became a part of India in 1950s itself. So, after this, in 1975, Sikkim became a part of India. Before that, even in the 1950s itself, Sikkim was given the protectorate status by India. And as far as Nepal and Bhutan are concerned, we have signed friendship treaties with them. Now it is in this context that we have to remember Bhutan has always been our friendly neighbor. Even Nepal was a friendly neighbor, but what are the reasons as to why Nepal is turning against us? This lies in the fact that the friendship treaty with Bhutan has been renegotiated in 2007. The previous treaty was signed in 1949, wherein there is an element or a clause which speaks about how India will guide Bhutan in its foreign policy. In 2007, India gave that power back to Bhutan and ensured that Bhutan will have complete right over its sovereignty and India will not intervene in its foreign policy. Similarly, Nepal also wanted to have a renegotiated deal, but India did not reciprocate that feeling. Ever since, after the 2015 blockade, the situation has turned worse because of the communist government in Nepal. So, this is the five finger policy of China and the actions taken by India. Now let us come back to our present context of Chinese transgressions. In the Ladakh region where there is LAC or the line of actual control, and also in the eastern sector, there was previously a civil service called IFAS or Indian Frontier Administrative Service. Now this was disbanded in 1968 and the power was given to Border Road Organization. So the main agenda of this organization is to develop infrastructure in the border regions. So as a part of the plan, India has ramped up its facilities and infrastructure in these border regions. As a part of the larger plans itself, India has been improving on its infrastructure to counter the infrastructural development that is happening on the Chinese side of LAC. India does not want to be at a disadvantage without any infrastructure. So, after the Modi government came into the scene, there has been a push for development of infrastructure in this region. Now, this has antagonized the Chinese, and that coupled with the present COVID-19 crisis, where India has been aligning towards United States, Chinese aggression has manifested in the form of transgressions in this LAC area. So that is the reason why we are witnessing a lot of transgressions in the recent past. Now in 2017 also we have seen a standoff in Doklam region. India and China engaged in two informal summits. One happened in Wuhan and the second one happened in Mamallapuram last year, where our Prime Minister hosted the Chinese President Xi Jinping. If we take a look at the spirit of both these summits, the underlying agenda was very straightforward. India wants to resolve all its conflicts with China in a peaceful manner, which involves dialogue and diplomacy. Now, if we take a look at these transgressions, it is a complete violation and sidelining of the spirit of both these summits. So, therefore, the actions of Chinese have definitely given legitimacy for Indian troops as well to counter-attack if there is any sort of attack on the sovereignty of our country. So in this context, we also have to take a look at the PAM, that is Tibet. Time and again, this Tibet issue has popped up in our foreign policy circles. Now what is this Tibetan issue? Let us have a look. In 1959, the religious leader of Buddhist, Dalai Lama, escaped Tibet because of the suppression being faced by Tibetans, and he came to India and sought refuge. Along with him, India gave refuge to nearly 1,20,000 Tibetans who still reside in India till the present date. So there has been a conflict about what is the future of Tibet after Dalai Lama. The next Dalai Lama was chosen, but he actually took up the citizenship of United States and is staying in USA there. So with this, what is the future of Tibet? That is one question which India should answer. Now, China has been envisioning Tibet as a part of their One China policy, and they are very keen on ensuring that it happens. Does India want to take up this problem in international circles and make it an issue? That is a policy matter that is yet to be taken. The decision is yet to be taken by our government. So in this context, the author also believes that the Jammu and Kashmir issue will also affect the perception if we internationalize this Tibetan issue. Therefore, we have to sort out our internal issues first before taking this international issues to global level. That is the gist of this article. The second article for the day is taken from the Hindu and it is titled Multilateralism Post COVID-19. Even this is an important article and an important trend with respect to our IR syllabus, because with the withdrawal of United States from a lot of multilateral organizations, this is an expected essay or a probable GS question and also important from interview perspective as well. Now with this COVID-19 outbreak, we are seeing a situation where all the international institutions are coming under a scanner. If we take the case of World Health Organization, many countries criticized WHO for not taking appropriate action on time with respect to COVID outbreak. So therefore, the article writer is proposing that multilateralism is under a retreat. So what exactly is multilateralism? It refers to an alliance of multiple countries pursuing a common goal. That is the simplest definition of multilateralism. In the case of World Trade Organization, it is trade, that is free, equitable. In the case of UNSC, it is global security. So likewise, we can give a lot of examples. For World Health Organization, it is health. So every international organization has a particular goal, and various countries come together to discuss about the agenda of that particular grouping. So what are the concerns exhibited by a lot of people who have problems with this multilateral approach? So there are various countries like USA which cite problems in the way things are running right now. Now let us have a look at these concerns. The first one is lack of reforms. When there was great power cooperation rather than great power rivalry like now, multilateralism has failed to bring cooperative action. So there was a lot of animosity between USA and China, and if you take a look at how decisions are taken even during normal times, we can say that multilateralism has limited success in bringing about cooperative action. The author cites the example of resolution 50/52, which was adopted unanimously during the 50th session to amend the charter by the deletion of the enemy state clause. So what it does is, nearly after 25 years also, we don't have a proper appropriate session to discuss this. As a result, the need for reforms, the need to adapt to new realities has been missing in this multilateral organizations. All the multilateral organizations that we see today are a legacy of the Second World War. We know that the situation has changed a lot ever since. Therefore, there is a need to understand the current realities and reflect those understandings in the organizational structure of this multilateral institutions. Now, there is lack of political will for this kind of restructuring. So what is the role that India can play? This is the key takeaway from this article. So India believes that the world is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, or a global village. Therefore, support for multilateralism will have to remain our primary pursuit. So what India should ensure is, we should ensure that the multilateral order is not captured by one power to another power. There should not be transfer, or there should not be a tilt in the balance from one power to another power. That is completely against the very ethos of multilateralism, where there is a possibility of democracy. India has always stood as the beacon of democracy in this world. Multilateralism should therefore thrive on the very idea of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That is the gist of this article. That's it for today. Thank you.